Hello options traders, welcome back everyone. I get asked a lot from traders, how do you keep tabs on the market? There's just so many different companies out there in different sectors, and I spend hours researching, trying to find out who are the biggest gainers, the biggest losers, which sectors are doing well, or which are not doing so well. Well, it's actually very easy, and like most good answers, we let the technology do it for us. Unfortunately, a lot of traders don't know where to find that technology, but one of the easiest to use is in the thinkorswim platform with a tool called a heat map. So let's go over into the thinkorswim platform and take a look at how heat maps can help you keep tabs on what's happening in the markets. Once you're inside the thinkorswim platform, you're going to see a tab right up here at the top called Market Watch. Click right there. And from this drop-down menu, you get a couple of choices. One is heat maps, and another is called an index watch. It does a similar thing. I'm going to create a separate video on that, but for this video, we are just going to concentrate on heat maps. So you would just click right there. Now, once you're in the heat map, you will see a menu over here on the left. So I can choose, let's say, just Dow Jones. I can look at different sectors within the Dow Jones. I could go to NASDAQ 100, Russell 2000, S&P 100, S&P 500, and you'll see that all of these expand and collapse to where we can look at different sectors underneath them. I can also go to one that's just called Public. This will give me lots of different choices. So for example, I can look at all ETFs, or I could expand that and look at specific ETFs. I could go to cash settled futures. I could go to just futures, micro futures, interest rates, indices, all kinds of different ways that we can create different heat maps in here. I can also scroll to the bottom and there's a tab called Personal. So in the thinkorswim platform, like most platforms, you can create your own watch lists. And so you give them a name. So maybe they're the stocks that you currently have, or ones that you're watching, or they're the volatile stocks that you're considering. So you give them a name and you can create your own heat maps from within those watch lists. So what exactly are we looking at here? Well, let's keep it simple. To start with here, I'm going to go up to the Dow Jones. So just click there, and this is the heat map you're going to see. And what you're looking at here are various boxes, and each box is one of the what are called members, or one of the components of the Dow Jones. So we're looking at 30 different boxes here. Now the size of the box represents the company's market cap. I think most of you know that the market cap, or the market capitalization, is just the current stock price times the number of shares outstanding. So theoretically, it's what the company is worth. It's what you'd have to pay to buy every share to own that company. So if we look at the size of the box, we can see who has the largest market cap. So for example, take a look over here at Microsoft. It's the largest box that we're looking at. So it is the most highly valued company in the entire Dow. Not far behind, right here, is Apple. Which are the smallest companies? Well, I can look down here. WBA, Walgreens Boots Alliance, pretty small. Travelers Insurance over here. And the smallest is actually way down here in the corner, is Dow Chemical, is the smallest of the market caps in the Dow, at least at this time. Now, if you want to know what the actual market cap is, you can just hover over any of these boxes. So right here at Microsoft, it gives you some more information. Last trade was at 138.90. It was up 0.36%, and the market cap is right there, 1,064 million, which is just over $1 trillion. If we slide over here to Apple, we get its information. Now there is a mistake here, a small mistake, and I did send a trade support ticket to thinkorswim, but if you look right here, it says market cap 935 million. That should be 935 billion. So it looks like somebody in the programming department there just missed a few decimals, but that should be 935 billion. But the size of the boxes and the actual representations are accurate. So hopefully they'll get that fixed here shortly. What about Walgreens? Down over here, worth about 50 billion. And then our smallest company down over here, Dow Chemical, worth just 37 billion. The next thing that a heat map will show you is whether a company is up or down. And that's what you're seeing here by these colored boxes. If they're in green, they are up, and if they're red, such as up in here, they are down. Now the magnitude of that change, in other words, how far up or down, depends on the color of the box. So if it's a bright green box, it's having a very big day in terms of the percentage change. So you can see down here that Intel had a pretty good day there, was up 2.72%. Way over here, another bright box was Dow Chemical, up just over 4%. United Healthcare right here, also up a pretty good bit, 1.8%. The darker boxes were up, just not a whole lot. So right here we can see that Coca-Cola was up 0.15%, basically unchanged. On the other hand, we can see up here, J&J, Pfizer, and Merck were all down. J&J was down the most. So if we hover over it, we can see it was down just over 4% right there. Pfizer was down 1.35%, and Merck was down 1.57%. Now, another thing that the heat map will show you is that if you look at each of these blocks, so for example, right here, all of these red squares shows that they are part of the healthcare sector. Over here, Microsoft and Apple, part of the information technology sector. This block over here is financials, so we can also see which sector they're in. So if you're trying to figure out roughly what these color codes are, you can look down here to this bottom left. It's showing you that the bright red is about -8% and the bright green is roughly +8%. Of course, that can change on any given day. Also, keep in mind that what you're looking at here is based on Friday's close. The markets are not open right now, but if they were open and one of these companies was getting bigger and bigger, having more of an up day or more of a down day, those colors would get brighter as the day went on. So they will change right before your eyes. These would be a live map in an open market. I can also scroll down two different sectors in here. I could do that in a couple of ways. First, I could just come over here. I'm in the Dow Jones Index, but I could just click on Communication Services or Consumer Discretionary and so on. But I can much easier just come over here and find out which block that I'm interested in. So for instance, let's say right here at Healthcare, all I have to do is hold down the Shift key and click, and it will just show me the healthcare stocks. So I can see that all of the healthcare stocks in the Dow were down on Friday with the exception of United Health over here, and they were up about 1.8%. So let's go back out to the Dow Jones. That's the entire index right there. So again, what it's just giving you is a nice bird's eye view of the entire index, in this case the Dow. Who are the biggest companies, who's having the biggest gains, and who's having the biggest losses. And it literally takes you 1 second to determine that with a heat map. Let's try a different one. Let's come down here to the S&P 500. Just click right there. Same idea, but now it's for the entire S&P 500. And again, you can see these blocks are sorted out according to different sectors. So right here is the information technology sector within the S&P 500. This block right here is the healthcare sector. Over here is consumer discretionary and so on. So with a very simple glance, I can tell that on Friday, right here, healthcare, lots of red. Lots of things were down in the healthcare sector. Not all though, because I did see a few down here, United Health, Humana. Several of them were up. Humana was up the most. It's the brightest green. If I want to see it, just point to it right there. 3.95%, almost 4% up. Who had the biggest down day of the healthcare? Right there, Illumina, down 16%. Who was up the most in the S&P 500? Well, just simply look for the brightest green box. And again, your color code, at least for that day, is down here. So I can see that the brightest green is going to be pushing 8% up. But I don't see any that are super bright. Humana is probably the brightest, at least that I can see right now, up about 4%. But Intel had a pretty big update, 2.72%. AVGO, Broadcom, 3.38%. Who else? Quite a few over here in the industrials. Saw Caterpillar up over 3%. Saw ITW, Illinois Tool, up about over 3%. 3M Company, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, up about 2.5%. So once again, very quickly I can see who's up and who's down. Who are the biggest companies in the S&P 500? Again, look for the biggest boxes. I can see Microsoft is a big player, Apple, Amazon, Google. Now these are Class A, GOOGL, and these are the Class C shares, GOOG. So we should really look at the combined size of this box right here for Google. So it's certainly one of the largest players in there. So as before, if I want to drill down to a sector, let's come back up here to the healthcare, point inside this larger box right here, anywhere in there, hold down your shift key, and those are all of the healthcare companies in the S&P 500. Now, once you drill down there, take a look at what happens. We get other breakdowns. These are pharmaceutical companies. Here's healthcare equipment and supplies, healthcare providers and services, and so on. So maybe I want to see what happened here with the healthcare providers. Hold down the shift key, and it drills me down to the next level. So I can keep drilling down to different sectors and industries within my overall index. So let's come back out to the S&P 500. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good overview of what a heat map can do. Just a super simple way, but very powerful way of figuring out what's happening in the market. If you're trying to find out which companies are having the biggest gains or the biggest losses, yes, we can do it not always 100% accurately here because it might be kind of hard to distinguish whether this box is brighter than this one. So if you're really after who's having the biggest up days or down days, what we want to do is to come up here and go to Index Watch. But we're going to have to save that for the next video. If you'd like to learn more about the art and science of options trading, please check out the Alpha Trader course and a brand new strategy lab for 2019 at optionsatoz.com. For those of you who use the Thinkorswim platform, I also have training classes on the TOS platform. Also, please join us on the Facebook trading group Options A to Z, and you can find a link in the description below.